All right, you guys, what do you say we wrap up the first half of this song here? We'll have it all the way from the very first downbeat all the way to the end of the drop. Let's get our FX in here. So one of the best things I ever learned or someone ever told me in process of production is your song should flow, your song should make perfect sense and be obvious what it's trying to communicate in terms of energy, emotion, style. I'm adding to this, but without the FX. So we've been playing with this song. We've written, produced this whole song without FX up until this point. Now, will I put FX in kind of during production? Do I do it how I've been teaching this section by section? Not a chance. But I keep in mind anytime I know a lot of electronic songs, most electronic songs have some sort of FX going on, whether that's musical notes or noises in essence. So we put these in here. We're going to focus on it last just because in terms of doing the whole production, our song should flow and should make sense and be good without FX. But at the very end of it, FX are going to make it better. So this should be super, super easy. We're going to put our effects in right now. So all you guys need is an audio track. This is going to be what we call our riser. So you guys can go ahead, drag that from your file book. It's going to be a riser. And when you drop these FX, these riser channels in here, or tracks, samples, whatever, they're not always, there's not really usually a tempo. They just have like a duration. So what we're going to do is actually play with this to make sure it stops and starts pretty much in time with where we want it. So I never really know what's going on with these risers at the end, if they were, terminated properly, if they have any kind of clipping. So I'm just going to take the very last piece off of here. And then I want it to stop right here. So if we listen back, we'll take it right from here into the drop. I want it to stop with the drums, that little piece we wrote. So listen with the riser in here.
All my life, all my life.
I want it to stop. So those drums come in and we just get in all my life. So we're going to chop it right there. So we have our riser. These pink tracks are just my own tracks. The gold tracks will be exactly the same. So if we put this riser should be super easy. We just put it right there on that downbeat. We can drag it back, but I see there's some information in here that's starting earlier. So what I'm actually going to do is take this. I'm going to line it up. I got to zoom in real close. And you guys let me know if there's a way to snap the end of a region to a point. I have yet to figure that out in my Logic career or my production career. So that's what I do. I zoom all the way in to fractions of a millisecond, and then I'll just bring this up here. So now we have a perfectly timed riser, cuts and starts where we want it to. So the other thing with our riser, we don't want to hear it coming in too hot. So I throw a huge fade on it. So we have our fade tool, command, and I take it all the way to the end. And since we chopped a piece off there, we'll just put a fade of 2 on the end of it. And then we have our riser. So that's for our build. And then in the drop, we're going to copy and paste this riser twice. So we'll go ahead, check this, guys. So we want our riser to end kind of in the same manner here. So if we have middle of the drop going into the second half, I want that silence. So that's good. Riser's good right here. I like that. And then for the end of the drop, I want it to carry the drop out into the next piece here. So don't worry about what happens on this downbeat. We'll get to that. But the riser's going to carry the drop and then transition into the next piece. Right there, just like that. So we have our riser in for this first piece, and then we have a downer, a down sweep, a downer, white noise, whatever you want to call it, it's fine. So kind of same thing with the downer. We'll grab our downer, plop this guy in here. Downers are a little bit easier because usually they start, we're working on the start piece. So I would like a downer on the very beginning of the drop here. So we have our downer right on the downbeat of this drop. So when the drop hits, we get this nice kind of relief. The drop has happened type of noise. So just like
all
this.
my life.
Works in conjunction with the crash almost. So our crash is like our normal drum sound that we're kind of expecting. Not that impressive, but combined with our downer, and yes, you could put reverb on your crash, but this is how I did it. Really nice. Really nice. So we have our downer in place. We're going to go ahead and make sure that cuts right where our riser cuts. Now you can see there's no information here, so it's not really a big deal, but it's good practice just to make sure this is cut. We don't have any kind of bleed through. This is super easy to check with audio tracks. So with our downer, it's not a big deal. On the fade, let's just give it an arbitrary fade, 676. On the original, it was 308. Whatever. There's no information on the end of that sample. So let's take our downer again. Let's copy it over. I want this not on the downbeat, but I want this when everything crashes back in. So we have this little muted section, and then I want it to crash back in with everything else with the drums. Beautiful. All right. So we have that. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to use this to transition out of this part here. So just put that there for now. We don't have to listen back because not everything is quite situated. All right. So then we have this cool sub drop. So I love this. I'll put these in a lot of my songs. We'll go ahead and make a sub drop. Boop. And it's as easy as click and drag. Get you a sub drop. Oftentimes I'll look for one that's in key, and I'll also look for one that's more or less the duration of the sub drop I'm looking for. So I don't think I touched this one in terms of transposition, meaning I didn't key it up or key it down. I would have to look at the splice file to see if it was in key or not. But for this one, we're going to go ahead, take that tail off of it, because as this downbeat hits, we don't want the sub to bleed through into when our bass starts, which is right here. So sub, that we have a sub here. The reason we call it sub drop is because it's sub bass. We don't want this to overlap. We'll have all kinds of mixing technical issues. So let's terminate it here. We want it on the downbeat. We're going to put a fade out on it to make sure it's nice and clean. It doesn't clip. Oops. So I put 181. Again, it's rather arbitrary, so you can click and drag this where it feels good to you. 183, whatever. So now we have with our FX. Clean. Really nice. All right. So our last piece that we added to this song is a vocal sweep. I have it labeled VOX sweep, Vox sweep. So I will add these to many, if not all, of my songs because they make for great transitions. They make for great custom pieces that you can add to your song. So I only made one out of this track. So this piece right here came from the vocal. So if I remember correctly, if you guys just listen to this, we turn off the plugin we have on it. Sounds like to me, all it is just this first word right here.
Oh, 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 oh.
It's the root note of the song. It can be very useful. So what we're going to do is go ahead, grab this piece. So you can cut this. Boink. Now we have this. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead and make a new audio track with nothing on it. All right. So we will copy and paste this just down here arbitrarily. Doesn't matter where, because we're going to work on it. So now we have this little section piece.
Oh,
So the way we can play with this is, first of all, we're going to make sure that it sounds clean. So
oh,
I want to get rid of kind of any kind of breathing on it. Just kind of get the note.
oh.
Sounds pretty good to me. Again, there's no surefire way on this. We just kind of want to edit it as we see fit. So the way I go ahead and turn this into what we have above is we're going to put reverb on it. So we'll go ahead down to reverb. Since I do this so much, we have our chroma reverb. I set up something in here I call the reverser. So again, I do this so often. I have a preset on here that I click this. It gives me kind of what I'm looking for. So it sounds like this. Long, honestly, kind of ugly reverb. But to get this, we didn't change too much. It's still on room. Try to make your diagram look like this. You can move this around a little bit. Your diagram, your EQ. Size 100, density 100, decay 10, distance 50, 100 dry, 50 wet. That's what we got. Check this out for a second. And so once this is applied, the other thing we want to double check, let's just put a fade of 1 on both sides of this so we don't record any kind of clipping into it. So now what we're going to do, we'll take off this cycle mode. We're going to right click this track. And normally, yes, I want to put this at the original fader volume. So a fader of 0. So we're working with a relative scale. We don't have to think about that after the fact. So we'll right click this. We're going to click bounce in place, which is essentially is recording this track over itself. We're just recording a new track with the effects on it. So call it what you want. We'll rename it in its own track. New track, leave the source, include audio tail. This is fine. We're not working with that. Make sure normalize is off. So we'll hit OK. And now we have something that looks a little different, but check this out. We click and drag this out. Here's our whole reverb tail. This whole thing. It's huge. So now that we have that, we can get rid of this. So we'll go ahead, take this bounce in place track, pop it up to our own track. You could have labeled this as well. It's fine. I'm very OCD when it comes to this kind of stuff. We don't need this bounce in place track. It's not doing anything for us. So now we have this guy, vocal sweep. We have it brought down to the original volume 10.2. And now we have this. Cool. So now what we can do is go up to region. There's a couple ways to do this. This is, in my opinion, the easiest. Hit reverse. So now we have this guy. We'll take it all the way up here. Nice. All right. So same thing with kind of the riser. This is arbitrary. There's really no duration. I wanted to make this just 1 bar length worth of material. So we'll go ahead, figure out the best part of this to use. And when you reverse this stuff, we don't want any kind of the vocal. We just want the reverb tail. So when that comes in, I want to kind of cut that off. So that's gross. Let's take this back. Let's just get the, it's getting close, just a little bit more. Cool. I like it. So let's make sure, again, we get a new fade on it so we don't get that popping. Smooth. So we'll go ahead, bring this all the way back. We have this bar right before the verse starts. So this is the only thing that's going to play. This is going to introduce our song. So if we line this up with anything here, we'll zoom all the way in, make sure it's perfect. Perfect. And then if we want just a bar, grab this. Good. Now we have a bar. We'll pop this into place. And then like with our riser, we have a fade on the end. We'll also put just a super long fade, maximum fade, bringing it in. So we end up with this. Beautiful. So to also disguise this and just for the EDM effect, I put the vocal transformer on this again. So I played with this. You guys can develop your own settings if you like something different. I pitched it at 12. There was nothing really else I felt like it needed. So we get So after listening back to the original and this one, you guys can see they're wildly different in the audio. So what it looks like originally I did is I decided I didn't like the portion of that there. So I actually brought it back and used more of the beginning portion of this. So we'll line this up again on a bar, just like that. Logic helped us with that. We still have our fades on it. Make sure we're lined up. We'll bring that in here, bring it back. And now, yeah, they're a little bit different, but that's okay. Okay, not bad. So we'll mute this. So now this comes right into the song. And it originally was just the first word of the song. So now we have this,
All my life.
brings us right into the song. So I have this in more pieces, more sections of the song here. I use it as kind of a transition piece. So we have our 1 bar vocal sweep. We'll put one here. So that brings us into the second verse.
You're my witness. All my
Cool. And then we also have one on the build, transitioning us into the build here.
you're my witness. All my
So very subtle, but it helps the track out a lot. We have a lot of transitions. So that does our FX for the first half of the song. And we've completed the first half of the song. So you guys should be super proud of yourself. This was a lot. I tried to make this super, super simple. This could be a challenge for the new producer. For you guys that are more experienced, this should be okay. But I think this challenge was definitely worth it. So we have pretty much a whole song with a lot of different things going on. We'll get into the second half of the song. We have automations that we'll get into. And then with all my tracks, I automate the stereo out at the end just to make sure the song stops playing at a certain time. So we'll get into everything else in the next video and keep working on it. I'm super proud that you guys have come to this point. This is a lot of information and a lot to do. So if you guys made it all the way here and you followed me the whole way, good on you. Let's get into the next stuff really soon here. Good job.